Buddham 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 Vande Dhammam 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 Vande Sangham 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 Vande Buddham Dhammam Sangham Vande Samanta Cakkavalesu Atra Gaccantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajassa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadam Dhammasavana Kalo Ayam Badanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayam Badanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayam Badanta Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Santunti Paramandanam. Homage to the exalted one, the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one. Dear friends in the Dhamma, today we are going to discuss happiness. How Buddhism explains happiness. Because all of us wish a happy new year for everyone these days. Therefore, we should understand how we make a real happy year in 2017. According to Buddhism, we are going to discuss how we create our happiness. When we see the society in the world, actually people mostly think that the happiness comes from outside. That is why they always think that when they go forward in their education, employment and friends, they may think that they have more happiness. That is why always they are going to outside, finding happiness. But end of their life, what happens to them? They are reaching the death without satisfaction, without no real happiness. The reason is that they always trust in outside. They may think that the happiness comes from outside. They may think that when they have a lot of friends, money and education, they are successful, they are happy. But real happiness arises inside. Happiness, not only happiness, even suffering arises inside. If we can change our attitude into the correct way, we can overcome suffering and we can achieve the real happiness. That is the thing that always Buddhism points out. According to Buddhism, we should understand how we achieve the real happiness. Whenever we are suffering, at that moment, our mind is polluted with anger, greed or delusion. That is why we are unhappy. On the other side, whenever we are unhappy, our mind is in the past experience or our mind is in the future experience. If we keep our full attention in the present moment with mindfulness and wisdom, actually at that moment we have overcome suffering. Step by step, we should understand how we develop our happiness. Happiness is the main purpose of everyone. Buddha said, all beings like happiness, dislike misery. It is not only for human beings. It is the nature of all beings in the world. Even, sometimes you can see some small ants jump to the fire, jump to the lamp. Do they jump to the lamp to get suicide? No. They jump to the fire, finding happiness. Even that small ant likes happiness, and also it doesn't like suffering. In this situation, according to Buddhism, happiness is very important in our life, and according to Buddha explained, when we go forward in happiness, then we can see some results in our life. At the very beginning on the path of liberation, at the very beginning on the path of happiness, we should identify, we should understand the enemies who disturb our peace of mind. Buddha says, it is very easy to defeat hundreds of enemies in the battlefield. But if we can overcome, defeat inner enemies, defilements, that is the great victory. It is better than winning hundreds of enemies in the battlefield. What are the main enemies who disturb our peace of mind? Yes, there are 3 defilements like enemies. One of them is greed or lobha. Greed, attachment or lust. This is one of the defilements, negative thoughts that disturbs our peace of mind. If we can identify whenever this enemy comes to our mind with mindfulness, we can overcome it. The second one is, as you mentioned before, anger, hatred or ill will. Dosa. In Buddha's language, in Pali, it says dosa. First one is lobha. Buddha explained his message in Pali language. It is one of the ancient language in India. And the third one is
delusion.
Yes, delusion or ignorance. Delusion or ignorance. In Pali, it says as moha or avidya. Moha or avidya. These are the 3 defilements like enemies who disturb our peace of mind. If we can overcome, defeat, reduce these 3 defilements, that is the real success in our life. If you want to show your skills in your life, you have to decrease, overcome these defilements. That is the way how we show your qualities. That is the way how you show your personality. That is the way how you show your proficiency. Because this is the way how we overcome suffering. In the primary level, when we are going to overcome greed, Buddhism has explained some kind of techniques. One of them is practicing generosity, offering something to others, not only physical things. If we can offer our generosity, our kindness, our pay attention, that is also one of the generosities that we can offer something to others. Anger is one of the main reasons that brings us suffering. For that, if we want to overcome anger, we have to practice loving kindness again and again in our day-to-day life. Buddha says in his very special discourse, Metta Sutta, the discourse of loving kindness, Buddha explains, he who wants to become inner peace has to practice loving kindness. Practicing loving kindness is one of the signs that you are on the path of liberation. If you don't practice loving kindness, it means you don't enter the path of liberation yet. Until you start to practice loving kindness, you are not on the path of liberation. You are not on the path of peace. As the result of practicing loving kindness in the highest level, as soon as we meet a person, we think that person is like our only son. That is the highest contemplation. If we can make like this a mind, we are so fortunate. And also, as you know, a lot of people in the world are suffering because of anger. You know, Los Angeles is one of the biggest courts in the world where it is discussed a lot of cases. Los Angeles court. One of the main reasons is anger, which the cases are filed. In this situation, reducing anger brings us happiness. You know, when Buddha was living in India, there were some ascetic people who had reduced their anger and desire for many years, for many eons. Not only many eons, as I mentioned before, there were some ascetic people in India when Buddha appeared in the world who had reduced their anger and greed for 84 big, great eons. Not only for several years or several lives. Actually, according to that society, they were successful. But after Buddha appeared in the world, they were not successful. Because Buddhism has introduced another defilement, is delusion. Our real success depends on how far we have overcome delusion or ignorance. How do we identify ignorance? What is the meaning of ignorance? Ignorance means when we see something, when we hear something, when we experience something through our six senses, if we think before we experience something it was here, and also if we think after experience it remains here, that is the nature of the ignorance. For example, when you meet me, you may think that this is the person with whom I discussed on Sunday. You may think that the same person this is. Actually, it is true according to conventional truth. When we go to the deeper level, ultimate truth, it is not true. Now, this experience arises this moment. And if we can keep our full attention in this reality with mindfulness, that is the way how we overcome suffering. When we see somebody, if we think this is the person whom I saw before, then if that person has good or bad qualities, we live in that qualities. And we suffer with his qualities. If we are clever to identify this experience arises this moment, we can identify that person, it doesn't matter. But we can identify that person without defilements, without ignorance, then suffering doesn't arise. When we experience something, it is light. When we go to the mirror, every day we go to the mirror at home to see our reflection. Then as soon as we go to the mirror, that reflection arises at the moment. It was not here before we experienced. And also after experience, it doesn't remain. Our all experience in our life that we get through our six senses also like that. Even though reflection arises at the moment, even though it ceases immediately, we go to the mirror again and again. We never break the mirror. We don't hate mirror because we are knowledgeable. We know very well the nature of the mirror. If we have this understanding for our all experience that we get through our six senses, actually we can meet anybody. We can discuss with anybody. We can go to anywhere. We can speak anything. We can talk to anybody. Like we are going to the mirror. We can associate with anybody without ignorance if we have this understanding. All Buddhist doctrines focus on how we overcome this ignorance in the past experience. It doesn't mean that we should forget our past or future. In the current society, some psychiatrists recommended to forget past and future. When some clients come to them, they advise them, your problem is that you are thinking past or future. Please forget your past and future. Keep your mind in the present moment. Then you can overcome your problems. But Buddhism never says it. If you forget your past or future, according to Buddhism, that is a big mistake. When we develop our mindfulness, our memory gradually increases. Memory is not the fault. What is the fault? What's the cause of suffering? The cause of suffering is when we think something, if our mind goes to the past and live in the past experience as it is. That is the cause of suffering. When we think the reflection that we saw in the mirror, we have no suffering. Because we know very well now it was not there. It is only my attention, my emotions. And when you saw a picture, when you see a picture, a photo, there are some people in the same photo. One of them is you. As soon as you get that picture, photo, what do you see? First, you focus your photo, where I am. And then, how do you identify your face, your body? Yes. Yes. Where did you see your real figure, your face?
In my mind.
Yes, you saw it in the mirror. Without seeing mirror, never you can identify your picture. When you identify you in the photo, is your figure your reflection in the mirror? No. Where is it? It is in your memory, mind. Our all experience also like that. When you think from your past experience, at that moment it is in your mind. But because of ignorance, what happens to us?
Living.
Yes, we live in the past experience. For example, when somebody is coming here who has blamed you, as soon as we see that person, what happens to us? We may get angry because still we are living in the past experience. Sometimes that person has forgotten that incident. but still we are living the past experience. Buddhism says, a person can blame you once. Because of your ignorance, you are blamed again and again. If you are mindful, you are blamed once. If you have no mindfulness, you are blamed again and again whenever you think it. And that is the ability that Buddhism creates in us. That is the advice Buddhism always gives us. If we can develop this understanding, day by day we can overcome suffering. And especially, according to Buddhism, these are the three enemies who disturb our peace of mind. If we can overcome these real enemies, actually we can achieve the real happiness. Enemies are not outside. Real enemies are inside. These are the enemies. Especially, Buddhism says about these three defilements. Greed. The nature of greed is, it is difficult to overcome, but results are not dangerous. Greed is difficult to overcome, but results are not dangerous. How about anger? Anger. Result of anger is dangerous, but it is easy to overcome. When we compare greed, okay? How about delusion? Yes, delusion is so dangerous, and also it is extremely difficult to overcome. If we can overcome ignorance or delusion, automatically greed and anger disappeared. This is like main switch. If you can put off the switch of delusion, automatically the switch of anger and greed automatically put off. They are like fridge, oven, microwave. This is the main switch. And for that, on the path of purification, at the very beginning, we should be knowledgeable about this path. Therefore, Buddhism says knowledge is very important. When we go to a place, never we have gone, first of all, we should have an address. We should have the address. If we want to some place, never we have gone. And this spiritual path also like that. Without knowing this path, even though we have effort, energy, strength, actually we are not successful. Our effort is useless if we haven't the knowledge of path. And knowledge is very important. That is why Buddhism says again and again we have to listen to this message. When we listen to this message, at that moment our mind is concentrated. Our mind is in this understanding. It is also like a meditation. According to Buddhism, there are 5 ways that we can use to overcome suffering. That we have to attain enlightenment. The doors of liberation. One of them is listening Dhamma. The other one is discussion. Next one is preaching Dhamma to others. That is also one of the doors that we can use as a technique to achieve enlightenment. Fourth one is reciting, chanting, with understanding, with mindfulness. Fifth one is meditation. Meditation is one of them, not only one thing. There were some people, when Buddha was living in his time, who attained enlightenment when they were listening to Dhamma. There were some enlightened persons in Buddha's time who attained enlightenment while they were preaching to others, because at that moment their mind is completely in this understanding. It is not away from the understanding at that moment. There was some enlightened person who attained enlightenment when they were discussing Dhamma. There were some enlightened persons in Buddha's time who attained enlightenment when they recite in some discourses. Meditation is only one of them. Therefore, knowledge is very important. Listening, preaching, discussing, reciting, and meditation. Knowledge is very important, like having an address where we are going to. And the second one is not only knowledge that we have, but reflecting. Reflection. Reflect on it again and again mentally. Not only meditation, but whatever we do. When you drive, when you work at home, when you work in your workplace, when you cook, whenever you are awakened, if you can remind it, if you can reflect on, contemplate on again and again, then your intelligence gradually increases. So reflection also very important. Buddha says sometimes, I don't see any other important thing than reflection. It says in Buddhism as Yoniso Manasikara in Buddha's language. Yoniso Manasikara. And what is the next one? On this path, there are several important things that we have. One of them is knowledge. Throughout listening to Dhamma, we have to improve our knowledge day by day. As successful persons, day by day we like to go forward in our education. Like that, we should develop our knowledge, the reality in the world day by day, according to what Buddha says. Buddhism doesn't belong to Buddha. Buddhism doesn't belong to Buddhism. Buddhism belongs to people who are intelligent, because Buddha has explained not his own ideas. Buddha explained the world reality. Buddha says very clearly, whether Buddha appears or not in the world, this reality is forever. We respect Buddha because he discovered, analyzed, and proclaimed this message by himself. That is why we respect Buddha. The third one is what is the third one? Yes, practice. Practice is very important. How do we practice it? There are many ways we can practice this message. One of the major way that Buddha has explained is 3 disciplines, or Trivida Siksha, virtue, concentration, and meditation. Wisdom. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Virtue, or discipline in our speech and behavior, and concentration, keeping our mind in the present moment with mindfulness, and wisdom, reflecting on impermanence again and again. This is the thing that Buddha explained. If we want to be happy, if we want to achieve the real happiness, This is the path that Buddha explained. In this situation, we should have clear understanding what happens to our life. We get experience through our six senses, like our eyes, nose, ears. These are the senses that we receive experience. Whenever we experience something, that experience arises at the moment. When we experience something through our senses, it means 5 aggregates arise at the moment. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. Forms, feelings, perception, sensation, and mental formations and consciousness. These 5 aggregates arise at the moment. When we look at these flowers, if we are knowledgeable, when we identify these flowers, it means 5 aggregates have arisen in this moment. That experience not here before we experience. As soon as we experience these flowers, these 5 aggregates appear at the moment. Immediately, these 5 aggregates cease without remaining anything. That is the way how we identify these are as flowers. If we don't have this understanding, our mind is fixed in outside. If we are intelligent, as soon as we look at these flowers, as soon as we identify these flowers, we know very well happiness or my pleasant experience arises inside. Like, when we go to the mirror, we usually go to the mirror, but as soon as we go to the mirror, when our reflection is beautiful, we never appreciate mirror. We appreciate our body. Like that, when we experience something, when we see something, if we are happy, we appreciate inside, not outside. On the other way, when we experience something, if we are suffering, it means we are intelligent to understand the cause of suffering is inside, not outside, because suffering or happiness doesn't arise outside. It arises according to our mental conditions, emotions. Always you can get the example, mirror. Then that is the way that we understand how suffering arises. If we have this understanding, actually it relates to the main doctrine in Buddhism, that the Paticcasamuppada. Have you heard about Paticcasamuppada? Yes, Paticcasamuppada means dependent origination, causality, cause and effect. Yes, how experience arises. The way how experience arises. It means when we experience something, the experience arises at the moment when conditions are together. When conditions are separated, immediately that experience ceases. For example, always we get the same example. When you listening to this sound arises at the moment. It was not here before you experience. It doesn't remain after you experience. It arises and ceases at the moment with the conditions. On the other side, this sound doesn't belong to these fingers. This sound doesn't belong to my ears. This sound doesn't belong to my mind, consciousness. But without any reason, without any condition, the sound doesn't arise. These reasons, these conditions help to arise this sound, but this sound doesn't belong to anything. This is the nature of our whole experience, but we can understand this sound, but when somebody blames us, what happens to us? Yes, we are going to combine this sound to that person. You blamed me. I will see you. Be careful. Actually, you can blame me. That thing arises because of you, but that sound doesn't belong to you. If we have this understanding, we can overcome suffering. This is the way Buddhism explains how suffering arises. Throughout dependent origination, Patisampada, we understand the way how suffering arises. That's the heart of Buddhism. Patisampada, or the dependent origination or causality or cause and effect, is the heart of Buddhism. Buddhism says, he who sees the Patisampada, the dependent origination, sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. Understanding of the dependent origination is the way to see the Buddha. Now we respect Buddha because of our parents' traditions. But when we understand the dependent origination correctly as it is, then we respect the Buddha the real way. At that day, we respect Buddha by our heart. Not only worshipping when we come to the shrine room, always we keep the understanding the Buddha's enlightenment in our inside, in our mind. Because we are so grateful after experience, after we see this reality. Because as much as we are able to see this reality, we are able to overcome suffering. When we overcome suffering, we feel happiness. Then we always are grateful to the Buddha. And in this situation, not only knowledge that we have, on this path, especially Buddha explained what we should practice. In various ways, Buddha has explained how we practice this message. Finally, Buddha says in his discourses, as an intelligent person, if we want to see something, if we want to educate something, the highest education is in Buddhism is understanding of the five aggregates. Understanding of the five aggregates are the main education in our life. Five aggregates means Rupa, in Pali language, Rupa, one of them. Forms. Vedana, the second one is, Vedana. Vedana means in Pali language, Vedana, Pali, in English, feelings. And third one, perception of sanya perception. And the fourth one, Sankhara, yes, mental formation. Mental formation, sankhara. Yes. Fifth one, vijnana or consciousness. Vijnana. These 5 things is a group of friends. They are together. They arise, yes, at the moment together, and they cease together. We can't divide them, but mentally we divide them to understand. For example, when you drink a tea, cup of tea, because of your understanding, you know it is very hot. Coffee is a little, sugar is a lot. You can identify. How do you identify it? Did you separate it? No. You understand it intelligently with your wisely. You understand it. But you can separate it. Because you have seen how people make a coffee. That is why you know. If I give some drink to you, never you have seen, you can't think. If you don't know the ingredients, you can never say that, you can never say that separate, not only separate, but you can say that it is a little, it is a lot, you can say. Because you didn't see the ingredients, you didn't see the way how we make it. Identifying these 5 aggregates is like learning, studying the ingredients. We do it mentally. Physically, we can do it. When you listening to this sound, when you identify this sound, these 5 aggregates have arisen at the moment. This is the nature of the experience. When you see something, when you smell something, when you eat something, that experience arises at the moment. On the other side, these 5 things arise at the moment. By our mind, by our understanding, we divide them mentally and we identify them, and also when we experience something in outside, we don't run to outside. We come to inside. For example, when somebody rings the doorbell, in our childhood, we went to the bell. When we are older, when we are growing up, when somebody rings the doorbell, we go to the door. This is also like that. In this level, when we see something which brings us happiness, we run to outside. When we are intelligent, when happiness or misery arise, we come to inside. It doesn't mean that we don't associate with others, we don't respond to others. We do it, but we do everything mindfully. Because we have overcome suffering. If you have this understanding, when somebody has some attachment, we can identify that person at that moment. That person is ignorant. We are clever not only understand ourselves. When we see something, when somebody responds to somebody, we can understand now at the moment he is ignorant. Whenever we are away from mindfulness, it means we are away from happiness. That is why Buddhism says that whenever you are in mindfulness, at that moment you are in the field of the Buddha, living in the mindfulness, like living in the field of the Buddha. Mindfulness means when we experience something, we have full awareness. What happens to my mind and body? Then our mind is not fixed in outside. It doesn't mean that we don't associate others. We associate others, but we do it mindfully. And whenever we are away from mindful, whenever you have no mindful, it means what happens to us? Yes, we are in the land of the Mara. This is the land of the Buddha. This is the land of the Mara. You know Mara? Mara? How do you say? Yes, it is, the sign of evil. Yes, the biggest, the highest sign of evils. And devil. Devil. And that is why day by day we should increase the time that we live in mindfulness. Our success, our happiness depends on how long we are clever to keep our mind in mindfulness. If we can live in mindfulness, it means we don't give any chance to anybody or anything to disturb our peace of mind. If we are away from mindfulness, it means anybody can catch us. Anybody can defeat us. Anybody can disturb our peace of mind. If we can keep our mind in mindfulness completely, it means nobody can disturb our peace of mind. That is the real refuge. Buddha says, Atta Deepa Bhikkhave Viharata Atta Sarana no Anya Sarana. Dwell with yourself as an island, as a lamp, as a light, with yourself as a refuge, no other refuge. This is the real refuge. Again Buddha says, Dhammadeepa bhikkhave viharata dhammsarana no anya sarana. Dwell with the Dhamma as an island, as a lamp, as a light, with the Dhamma as a refuge, no other refuge. We always find the refuge in outside. Actually, they also have no refuge. How do we get some refuge from them? They are also helpless. Yes. This is the real way how we get a refuge. We should trust in our mind, and also we should trust in mindfulness. If we can keep our full attention in the present moment with mindfulness, and also if we are clever to reflect on impermanence, arising and ceasing of our experience, at that moment we are so lucky, because at that moment we have overcome the biggest challenges in our life. Buddhism has discovered the real challenges that we have. What are the real challenges in your life? Have you thought it?
Like you mentioned, anger, greed, and delusion.
Yes, the Buddha has explained. Yes, you are correct. When we go to the practicable world, the real challenges are, yes, aging, decay. And those are the visible things that we can throw out ignorance. And one of them is decay, aging. We mostly suffer because of decay or aging. Second one is death. Third one is rebirth. Decay, death and rebirth are the biggest challenges in our life because of ignorance. If we can overcome ignorance completely, we can overcome these three challenges. All Buddhist doctrines focus on how we overcome these biggest challenges in our life. Decrease in ignorance. And Buddha says, when we are in mindfulness, we have overcome these challenges, sufferings. These are the biggest sufferings that we suffer in our life. When we are going to old age, even though we are well educated, even though we are very rich, actually we suffer because of old age. And also when we are subject to die, when we are close to death, even though we have a lot of friends, relatives, children who are well educated, actually we suffer. And also rebirth also one of the reasons of suffering. And if we can keep our mind in mindfulness, and also if we are clever to reflect on impermanence, at that moment we have overcome decay, death and rebirth. That is why mindfulness is praised, appreciated in Buddhism again and again. Buddha says, practicing mindfulness is the only way to purification of beings. Practicing mindfulness is the only way to get rid of suffering. Practicing mindfulness is the only way to overcome sorrow, lamentation and pain. Practicing mindfulness is the only way to achieve wisdom. Mindfulness is the only way to attain enlightenment. Mindfulness is the only way to liberation. This is the center of Buddhism. When we practice mindfulness, other four things are together. What they are? One of them is confidence, saddha. Confidence in the triple gem. We are confident in Buddha's enlightenment. We are confident in the qualities of the Dhamma. We are confident in the Buddha's noble disciples. When we are mindful, because when we see happiness, we have confidence because this message is visible result, immediately effective, well expounded. When we see the result, we have a confidence in the Buddha's enlightenment, his message and his noble disciples who followed this message. Not only confidence that we have energy, effort, courage, dedication on this path. When we see the results, we are hurried to go forward throughout difficulties. When you see results without sleeping, you practice meditation. That is why when somebody sees Dhamma, even though it is very cold or hot, in very complex weather, actually they practice this Dhamma. There were some disciples of the Buddha at the age of 120, without sleeping, doing work in meditation, they practice meditation. There were some disciples of the Buddha who became the monkhood at the age of 100. There were some disciples in Buddha's time who became the monkhood at the age of 120. even though they were so old, because they see the results. They practice it throughout difficulties. Energy, virya. And the next one, when we practice mindfulness, when we train our mind to keep in the present moment again and again, gradually our mind is concentrated. Our concentration gradually increases. The ability to focus our mind in a particular wholesome object. By practicing loving kindness, breathing meditation, when we train our mind, we are able to keep our attention in a particular wholesome object for a long time. Then our mind is so calm and quiet. Sometimes we can keep our body without getting food. There are some persons who develop their concentration in the highest level. They could stay in the same posture for 7 days without food, not only without food but only without breathing. That is the result of increase in concentration. As much as our mind is concentrated, what happens to our mind? Yes, we reflect on impermanence. There are some people who start their meditation without seeing the destination. They may think that their destination is concentration. When their minds are concentrated, they think now they are completed. They are okay. They think that they have reached the destination. They are ignorant. But as Buddhist followers, we start this path with the knowledge of the dependent origination, Paticcasamuppada. Before we start this journey, we have the map, address. When you have the address to go to Sacramento, you don't stop in San Jose or Berkeley or any other place. You don't stop until you go to Sacramento if you have the final destination. We are also like that. We don't stop in concentration. With concentrated mind, we reflect on impermanence, arising and ceasing of our experience. Impermanence. It means wisdom. Opanya. Buddha says, wisdom is the highest valuable gem. Wisdom is the priceless gem of beings. Wisdom is the way how we purify our mind. Buddha has appreciated wisdom a lot. And these 5 things are together when we practice mindfulness. These 5 things are named 5 spiritual faculties. 5 spiritual faculties. This is our real wealth. Because, these things are with us from birth to birth until the final destination, liberation, enlightenment. When Buddha meets a person, as soon as the Buddha meets a person, he thinks that person's these 5 spiritual faculties, how much he has developed these 5 things in his past life. Although there are 5 things, sometimes Buddha explains, you have to practice these 5 things. Sometimes Buddha says, you have to practice only these 3 things. Sometimes Buddha says, you have to practice only those 2 things. Sometimes Buddha has said, you have to practice only 1. If it is disturb you, if you think, I can't practice 5 things, it is a lot. Buddha says, finally, you have to practice only one. If you practice only one, impermanence, reflecting on arising and ceasing, then all qualities gradually increase. This is the way that Buddha explained to achieve happiness. That is the way how we make a real happy new year. This is the way how we achieve the real happiness. If we can stay in this understanding, if we can live in this understanding, actually we are so lucky. Then every day is like the 1st of January. Every day is like our birthday. We celebrate every day like 1st of January or like our birthday. Every day we are happy. Day by day we are going forward to happiness. If you have any question, you can ask. Okay, actually, sometimes we repeat these same doctrines in the same class. Don't worry, if you understand something, we repeat something again and again. If you continuously come to the class, you can listen to these same topics again and again. Don't worry. Okay. And now we are going to summarize this topic that we discussed. Today we discussed how we achieve the real happiness. People in the world who don't know the real path to liberation, they may think that happiness arises in the outside. Therefore, they always find something from outside. But according to Buddhism, if we find the happiness, we come to inside. And we purify our mind from negative thoughts. As Buddha mentioned, there are 3 main unwholesome thoughts which disturb our peace of mind. They are greed, anger, and delusion. If we want to overcome greed, we have to practice again and again generosity. Generosity is one of the paths that we can overcome greed. At the very beginning, we can offer something to our close relatives and our pets. At the very beginning. Then gradually we can develop it. Finally, we offer something to others who are our enemies too. That is the concept of the Buddhas. That is the attitude of the Buddhas. In the primary level, we help others, who are close to us. But when we grow up, when we develop our mental conditions, actually, we are ready to help others who have disturbed us. The second one is anger, who disturbs our peace of mind. To reduce anger, day by day, we should practice loving kindness. That is very important. When we practice loving kindness, we can see the beauty of our life. Actually, that is a very good, meritorious act that we can practice and see the results in this life. While you are driving on the freeway, if you practice loving kindness, you can see the results. The vehicles which are in the same lane, they gradually go other ways. Actually, it is visible results. And when you practice loving kindness, you can get some help from outside who are around you. And on the other side, if we want to reduce ignorance, we have to practice mindfulness and wisdom. Mindfulness means keeping our mind in the present moment. We mostly live in the past experience. Therefore, we have lost the beauty of our life. When you are here, in this present moment, look at around here. Flowers, very natural flowers. They are not artificial flowers. They are so natural. And also lights. How many lights? Hundreds of lights are helping you. And all of them are for your inner peace in this moment. If we can keep our attention in the present moment, actually we can see the beauty of our life. When you drive your car, if you can keep your attention in the present moment, then you can see the beauty of your vehicle. You can see the dashboard. It is like a very interesting, it is so nice. When our childhood, we were so happy when we see a vehicle. Now, where is our happiness? Because our mind is in the other way. We have no patience to see this present moment. Even we have no time to see our physical body. And when we go on the streets, there are a lot of plants, flowers are waiting to say us hi. Cities have spent a lot of money. It is for you, it is for us. But we have no patience to see those things. Because we have lost to live in the present moment. If we can develop this ability, practicing impermanence, actually, gradually, we can see the beauty of our life. And also, not only keep in mind in the present moment, with concentrated mind, we try to reflect on impermanence, arising and ceasing of our experience every moment. Please try to increase the time, duration that we practice mindfulness and intelligence or wisdom. Then day by day, we go forward. When our decay and old age runs us, we run fast, then old age comes to us. Because we are faster than decay or aging comes us. Now we are late. Decay or old age and death is running fast than we are. We are so late. If we can increase our speed, actually we can win the match. We can win the game. And before we reach the old age, if we can practice this Dhamma, actually we can win, we can defeat these challenges: aging, decay, death and rebirth. That is the main purpose of practicing every doctrines that Buddha has explained to us very kindly. If we can understand this message, and also if we can practice this message, we are so fortunate in the world, because other people don't know the way how to get rid of suffering, how to achieve the liberation, how to attain the real happiness. We know the path, but not only knowing, but we have to reflect on it again and again, and we have to practice it throughout mindfulness and wisdom. For that, I wish you all the best. Okay, day by day, let's go forward by practicing this message. For that, I wish you to, for your life, longevity, good complexion, health, and all successes in your life. By the power of all these merits, as a tradition, we transfer the merits to our departed relatives too. In this moment, you generated a lot of positive thoughts in your mind. By the power of those positive thoughts, may our departed, beloved relatives also receive these merits, and may they enhance their spirituality, and may they also attain final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's transfer these merits to our departed relatives too. Idamme ñātīnam hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnam hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnam hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. By the power of all these merits, may guardian deities and angels also receive these merits. May they enhance their spiritual energy, their divine energy, and they keep their eye on you too. May they also attain final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's transfer these merits to guardian deities and angels too. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devā nāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā ciraṃ rakkhantu sāsanam. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devā nāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā ciraṃ rakkhantu desanam. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devā nāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā ciraṃ rakkhantu tvaṃ sadā. By the power of all these merits, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no problems come to you. May no difficulties come to you. May your all righteous wishes meet with success. May all of us attain final bliss of liberation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dukkhaṃ pantā ca niddukkhaṃ, bhayam pantā ca nibbhayam, sokam pantā ca nissokam, anto sambe pipānino.